Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Scott Hogue. I'm with Public Safety Insight, and thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar, Securing the Mobile Officer, Why MDM is Non-Negotiable. I'd also like to extend a sincere thank you to Samsung for sponsoring today's discussion, and I think you're going to find this very informative. So let's get started. So we're going to start this morning with Remington Steele from Samsung, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the Knox MDM that Samsung offers and give us sort of the 101. If you have questions, please put those in the chat and we will get those towards the end. We'll have plenty of time for questions and answers at the end. So we've got chat available to all of our attendees. And then also we will record this, or we are recording this session here, and we'll make it available to everyone at the end of the webinar. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Remington, and Remington, take it away.
Hey everyone, so I'm Remington. I'm one of the solutions engineers here at Samsung. I'm specifically focused on the public safety vertical, so police, fire, EMS. That's really my bread and butter here. So I work specifically with our Knox solutions, helping those agencies get the most out of our MDM solutions, and not only that, but whatever other device management solutions we have. And I help put together an entire ecosystem for them. All right, so I'm going to share my screen now. Let me know when you all can see it. I think it's coming through here. I'm just going to turn off my camera so I don't throttle any bandwidth here. All right. So like I said, just taking you through our Knox Suite ecosystem, how I've helped agencies get the most out of this solution to maintain CJIS compliance with their devices and just practice better overall security standards for devices. So the very first product that we have within the suite is called Knox Mobile Enrollment. And where this really helps is getting your device from the box into the MDM. And it's going to enroll those devices into your MDM automatically during that initial setup. That first time you power it on out of the box, your device is going to know exactly where to go. And it's going to remove that manual staging work of you having to touch every device over 30 times just to get one into your MDM. So it's going to take it from the box into your MDM with minimal steps. And then I think also a little hidden feature about KME is its security, where it's going to provide persistent enrollment for your device. So even after a factory reset, the device is going to still know where it belongs, and it's going to always boot back up and self-enroll itself back into your MDM tenant, so you always have control. So just to go over one notable thing within KME is a setting that we have when you're going and building out the profile. We have a setting that's going to allow you to come in here and it's going to go ahead and block any kind of system applications that get pushed out from the carrier. So think about the TikToks, Facebooks, all that bloatware that gets pushed down from your carrier. We're going to have a setting right in here. So that way, once the device gets into your MDM, it doesn't have any of those bloatware applications into it. You get a very basic image that you can then manage and add applications onto, should you so choose. So it's just as simple as disabling system apps right here within the profile. So that way you only have apps that are assigned to you. And it's fairly simple. Once you have the profile created, you just assign it over to the device. And then all you need to do is power it on. You could pre-configure your Wi-Fi profile within here, or if the device has cellular data already activated, it's going to begin the enrollment, checks in with the Knox server, and it starts downloading this KME profile that points it over to your MDM. And so now I'll come into Knox Manage, which is the actual MDM itself. It's going to allow you to push down all your policies and help control the device itself. So Just to give you an overview, you'll get brought into your dashboard as the very first page, and you're going to see gauges of, your total device count, your users, when devices have been last seen. Uh, it's going to show you what type of devices you have in your platform. So Knox Manage doesn't only support Samsung devices, it's going to support Android devices, iOS, Mac OS, and Windows PCs. And currently, we are the only MDM on the market that can support Wear OS devices. So our Samsung watches, you're going to be able to manage from a central location within the MDM. And just within the last few days, we actually had an update where XR management was added into Knox Manage, so you are able to control an XR headset, specifically an Android XR headset, the same way you would a phone, where you can lock it down, choose what apps are pushed down to it, and whatever security policies you'd like pushed down to take a lot of that out of the end user's hands. And more importantly, this dashboard is going to show you any issues with devices that you may have, whether they're unable to receive commands, a license is disabled, or sorry, a license is expired. You're going to be able to come in, and your dashboard is going to alert you to any issues. So if there was, be able to come in, see your device list, and here I see this one was last online 45 days ago. So you're going to be able to come in to your device, and it's going to give you all the details on it. So where this is helpful is if you have about 20 users calling into you, reporting the same issue, you're going to be able to find correlations here. Like, what was the last OS version of all of these devices? What are they currently on? What specific firmware version are they on? If you're having issues locating the device, okay, do we have the location settings enabled? So it's going to give you all that information to find the commonalities between issues that arise in your mobile fleet. So it's going to cut down troubleshooting time for you. Next, I'll go into the profile, because this is really where all the meat and potatoes are. This is where you're going to be able to push down all the restrictions you want to your device. So I'll come in here to a test profile I have created. Just to give you an idea on a few policies some agencies take advantage of on our devices, we have the contact management solution within our MDM, one of the only ones that actually has this, where you can take a spreadsheet, fill it out with all the contacts in your agency, and upload it into your profile. So that way, every device that is assigned this profile, they're going to receive the contact files in their contact application, and they're going to be able to, in essence, have a global address list that you'll be able to, that everyone within the department will have. So no need to actually go in and manually enter in each individual contact. Other agencies will come in, and we have password policies, which is needed for CJIS. You're going to be able to come in and set the strength of the passcode. You're going to be able to reset the device. Sorry, you're going to be able to reset the passcode of the device with the command that you send over. So just to give you an idea, I can come in, I can turn on a screen lock, and I can set the complexity and make it however strong or weak as you want it. You can minimize the number of special characters or numeric characters in the password. So it's really up to you how complex you would like to set it. But this is going to help check off that password complexity that you need on your devices for CJIS. Going down into, let's see, I'll give you a brief overview on Knox Service plugin. So I was showing you policies on the Android Enterprise side of things. We built an additional layer of management on top of our Samsung devices with over 2,000 APIs that will give you access to some more granular settings. Some of the ones I've found that are useful is specifically the Bluetooth profiles, where an agency would be able to come in and disable specific specific Bluetooth features. I'll pull it up here because we had one agency we were working with where they had gone ahead and one of their officers had a rental car where the device had synced over and the address book had completely come over, and it was still residing on the still residing within the car, and left that residual data. Well, you're able to come in here and you're able to block specific things such as the phone book access, or if you wanted to block a Bluetooth headset or any specific thing with Bluetooth, you're going to be able to come in and have that granularity to block certain features within it. So no need to worry about data leakage when your officers have the phone. The policies that you set up within Knox Manage and your profile policies are really going to help minimize all that data leakage. With an MDM, you're also going to be able to, let me see the one in last scene. You're going to be able to come in here and you're going to be able to see devices and what location they may be in. So I have this running every 30 minutes on my device. You can see it's down here in Fort Lauderdale, exactly where I am. And you're going to be able to have an entry almost every 30 minutes with the latest location of the device. This has helped numerous agencies locate devices that have gone missing, that have been lost. You're able to send a command if you need the location right that second. You're going to be able to come in and collect the existing location with a device command. And I've even had agencies who just couldn't find the phone within their car somewhere. You could just play that alarm sound and have it start ringing so you could find it. Now, some other commands that may be useful to you. We have, if the device is lost, you can lock it immediately. If you're worried about any kind of data extraction going on, you're going to be able to send a command to factory reset the device. The way no one can access it, it completely wipes the device. And you don't need to worry about data leaving it. And if the end user does forget their password, you've confirmed that they have the device right in front of them, you are able to send a command to completely clear that lock screen again for at least fully managed devices. Now, one other feature here that other MDMs will make you pay for, this is included within Knox Manage, is our Knox remote support, which allows you to connect and remote into the device as if it was sitting right in front of you. So you can either choose to prompt the user to give you a 6-digit password, or you can automatically start it. And it's going to, in a moment here, remote into the device. And I could click around as if I'm sitting right in front of the device and have control of it. The same gestures work as if the phone was in front of you. Now, one of the features within remote support that I've gotten a lot of usage out of is the file transfer mechanism, where I've had agencies have a phone screen that was completely smashed. There was no way they could get into the device uh, to extract data off of it. With remote support, you're able to get into the device, and whatever files you have on it, you would be able to download right to your PC. So all I have to do is just click File Browser. It's going to open up on the device, and I have a list of all files. And then whichever one I want to transfer over, I could go ahead and just click, and you'll see completely transferring over to my PC right into the downloads folder. Now you're able to take it a step further if you had wanted to lock down the device to a kiosk mode to only give the end users access to a certain amount of to a certain one app or multiple apps, or you wanted to restrict the device to certain functions, you could absolutely come in and build out a sandbox environment for that. Now, there's other agencies that I've worked with that they don't have an application currently in the Google Play Store, but it works as a web app. So you're able to add web applications right into your app library right here. and you could lock it down to if you just wanted it to be a full screen application, or you did want some navigation bars, you do have that option. But instead of bookmarking it on a web browser, you can go ahead and just create a application, a web app for it. One of the features here that's going to help you reduce the amount of deployment times if you use something like ATAC. I'll pull it up here, is something we have called managed configuration. And Greg is going to get into this a little later on in the call. But you do have, sorry about that, you do have the option to pre-configure data within applications and then push it down. Oops. Let's see, let's try Chrome. Greg's going to show you.
You got to click on the application itself.
Assign it out. There we go.
Yeah.
And then you can set configurations. So Google Chrome, this is all provided by the app developer. So Google Chrome has opened these up for management. I was just helping another agency that blocked the password prompt where it can capture and save passwords in your browser. They didn't want users having conflicting passwords. So we're able to come in here and disable it. So it's up to the app manufacturer, whatever settings they open up for you. But we do have that ability here. And so this, the way Knox Manage works, and most of the other MDMs out there, everything kind of revolves around the groups. You'd make one group per, if you had one group within your department that's patrolman, another group for the SWAT team. So you'd break it down that way. And then you could go ahead and take the applications from your library, assign them to the group, take the profile with all the policies, the restrictions, assign those out to the group, and then assign out the user. And then you're going to have everything rest within the groups here. And then you could go ahead and change it around should you want. That was kind of a very brief overview of Knox Manage, some of the capabilities it has. So let me take you back now to the admin portal. And I could show you some of our other services as well, such as eFOTA and KAI, that's going to help maintain that CJIS compliancy. eFOTA is a big one because as it currently stands with update management, bring it back to the profile policies that Android Enterprise provides, currently only have 3 options to allow or to configure system updates. They're automatic, postponed, and windowed. Automatic is just going to allow updates to come through at any time. So if an officer is in the field, they have a device, it could start going through a update cycle when they're using it and needing it for something critical. They have postpone, which allows you to hold off on all updates for up to 30 days now, or just windowed where you could set a specific time during the day. But I've seen issues in agencies where, an officer will get hit for overtime, and then, that update window that you set for them doesn't really work. So you have to come back in and manually configure it. So we have built a solution called eFOTA. And this is going to allow you, it's going to give you that granularity to control the update campaign that you push out to devices. So just to give you an idea, I'll give you one I created where you can come in, you can set the start date and end date of this campaign. You can choose when the firmware downloads onto the device, and then again, when it actually installs onto the device. One of the current issues is you could have an end user continuously pushing off updates to the point where the device falls multiple versions behind, and then it becomes a whole day activity to get it updated to the latest. With eFOTA, you're able to allow the end user to postpone it up to, well, we just added in no limit. It used to be up to 3 times within a 8-hour period, so they could find a time within 24 hours to get it updated. So it really holds them accountable to keeping their devices up to date. And then we have some more settings where you can control how the update is pushed down, whether you want it to just be over Wi-Fi or you want to include mobile data within that. And if you are using Wi-Fi within the office, you can throttle it so that way updates aren't hogging up all your bandwidth. And then you do have some further conditions you can set, like when you want the battery, or what you want the minimum battery level to be. And if there is an issue, you'll have the support contact details coming up here. So it's going to give you control over exactly which Android firmware versions you run on your device. You're going to be able to test out an update on a pilot group and then schedule out a wider rollout to the rest of your devices. And in general, it's just going to help avoid an OS update that's breaking any critical applications. So you'll be able to test it out first before you push it out to the larger group. And then the last one I'll get into real quick is Knox Asset Intelligence, which is all about giving you insights into your devices, helping you find out what security level they're on. So what KAI is going to do, it's going to collect specific information about your device regarding the battery health, if apps are crashing, if there's certain storage issues, and then just connectivity and device usage. So as you can see here, find out what status they're currently in during their for their KAI enrollment, what today's top issues are for with your devices. And this is just kind of an overall dashboard, apps that are causing the most issues on your devices, apps that are consuming battery, or even if there are certain apps consuming a abnormal amount of RAM on your device. So you'll be able to see that, and it's broken down into a couple different categories here. As far as the network, if there's certain disconnection events, or if you find that your users are on heavily using mobile data, you'll be able to keep track of that all here. Battery center, like I said, if your devices are starting to wither with their batteries after a few years, it's going to show you the trend amongst all those devices, so you are able to plan refreshes accordingly, and you're not stuck with devices that have no battery out in the field. I'll spend a second on this one, our security center. I think this is going to be most useful for our departments because it's going to show which devices are exposed to known vulnerabilities out there. It's going to rank each vulnerability by severity, as you can see here. It's going to tell you which devices are actually exposed to these vulnerabilities and how serious that risk is and what needs to be patched first. So I could come in here and find out, okay, I have one affected device on this latest critical vulnerability bulletin. I could find out what that device is, and then I could go in and I can force an update through eFOTA or bring the user in to update it as well. And I think one of the more useful hidden features within KAI is our ability to pull logs silently. So if you're troubleshooting an issue on the device, you don't know whether it's the carrier or it may be a Samsung issue, you're going to be able to pull devices and minimize that back and forth so you have something hard to show them in terms of data that points to the issue. And similar to Knox Manage, you're going to be able to pull the location of your devices, so you're always able to see it wherever it may be. Mine's just not updating on this, but it's going to give you down to the latitude and longitude and even the street address of the device. So that was it for my quick overview. Did anyone have any questions?
Remington, thank you very much. We do have some questions, but we'll wait till the end to get to those. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I want to move on now to Greg. Greg is a practitioner using this product, I would say, Greg, on a daily basis. Is that accurate? Yeah. So, Greg, could you
Yep.
just walk us through, how you're using it and some of the things, the benefits that you found in using it in your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. And first off, I want to thank Remington for getting me up to speed to where I am today. A lot of this was because he showed me the way, the light. So yeah, hey everyone, Greg Albrecht. I'm a tax SME and counter UAS SME out here on the West Coast, also a medic. So I get to eat my own dog food when I talk about these things. And I apologize if I'm a little lethargic here. We just came off of working a FIFA game, deploying exactly this last night. So it was a late game, and I'm here now. But I've used all of the MDMs, and Knox really is the only one you should be using, especially if you're deploying Android phones, Samsung phones in particular. Most of what we do is deploying ATAC, which is the Android version of TAC on Samsung devices. And because of the managed configuration capability of Android, and because ATAC has that managed configuration ability, I can literally one touch a box of Samsung phones into an ATAC environment. Uh, Considering the types of users we typically work with, these are field deployed folks. These aren't folks who are typically your most IT savvy or necessarily your most patient technological people. So being able to hand them a device that just works out of the box, and moreover, being able to update the device, reconfigure the device, change call signs, change maps, change preferences within TAC has really been a game changer. Our largest deployments have been, think of all of your big national security events over the last year: Super Bowl, FIFA, all the other events like that. We've deployed Samsung Knox devices using managed configurations on ATAC at every single one of those devices or every single one of those events. And it's made my job entirely easier. I used to say I would spend a lot of time hand jamming stuff onto phones to try to get them set up on TAC. And now it's funny to think about it this way. I can spend a lot more time training people on TAC itself than that's time I got back from having to actually just set up TAC, right? Now I can just hand them a phone that's fully set up, maps, call signs, colors, plugins, already configured. Now all I have to do is just explain to them the buttonology of what they're seeing, right? Prepare them for the mission that they're about to go on, which is, in my mind, far more important than futzing around with configuration options. So with Knox, what I'm able to do is take any phone, um, punch it in into the Knox Manage, deploy out ATAC, right? Deploy out plugins. The Drone Hone plugin is a good example for our counter UAS missions. It can turn any Samsung phone into a drone detection device, right? Directly from Knox. I push out a plugin, and now that phone is a remote sensor picking up drones, right? I've turned my entire fleet of Knox devices into drone detection, right? I can run everyone on the counter UAS mission. I can lock the phone down, right? I could put it into kiosk mode. Again, right? These are folks, the only thing they're going to be using this phone for is running ATAC. Now I can lock it down into kiosk mode. So there's no way for them to exit. As soon as they turn the phone on, it's in ATAC. It's up and running, right? They can focus on their job, which is whatever it is that they're doing out in the field, catching baddies or whatever. And then I can focus on my job, which is putting out all the other fires that I have to put out in my life. This benefits us as well because we're not necessarily always dealing with new devices. Sometimes we inherit old fleets of devices, and being able to register devices on the fly, either as a fully managed owned device or as a personally owned device with a work profile. We use both of those, right? So if you're in a BYOD environment, it's very easy to enroll those devices with a work profile and have all of the benefits that I've described on that device, even though it's not a fully managed device. If it is a fully managed device, you get really one-touch turnkey support of everything, right? So with ATAC, similar to how we showed with Chrome, how you can lock down Chrome, there's a lot of capabilities to configure and customize ATAC. And that's everything from the buttonology you see on the screen, which buttons are actually exposed to the operator, to what their base maps are, right? Are we using a satellite map? Are we using a special event map? To what TAC servers we're connected to, right? I can pre-configure all of that on all of my devices. No more scanning QR codes, no more hand jamming configuration options. And as we're out in the field, I'm also able to pull back diagnostics from those users. So when I have someone in the operations center ask me, hey, how come I'm not seeing a person on the map? I can go into Knox and say, hey, their battery's low, right? Or they're out of coverage, or any of the other diagnostics we can get off the phone. And since it's 2026, I think it's pertinent we mention this. Knox has an API. And moreover, your favorite LLM knows how to use that API. So we're very quickly shifting from having to click around in the web interface to just asking ChatGPT, hey, deploy ATAC to these 5 phones with this configuration profile, and then walking away. right? We can only do that with Knox. We can only do that with the MDM capabilities that we have here. And it's been a game changer. It's made the deployment of Samsung phones at the FIFA events that we're supporting flawless, right? Every event we operate at, we're getting more and more agencies asking us to deploy this out for them, and we have no problem with that at all. We work with some of our partners at some of the larger carriers like Verizon, FirstNet, T-Mobile to get caches of phones that we then enroll, and then we can completely manage here from Knox. So I'll leave it at that. I'm sure there's a lot of questions about that, but it's changed the way we operate. I don't know what other way to put this, right? I'll emphasize this again. I used to spend a lot of time out in the dirt, hand jamming stuff on phones, sweating and hoping that everything works. And now I don't have to do that anymore, right? I could do that all remotely if I need to, but I can really let the operator focus on what they're doing, what the task is at hand, and keep them out of the screen and keep me focused on what my task is, which is supporting those users, supporting the JOC, making sure everything's operating, making sure we're getting the data that we need, making sure the operators are getting the data that they need, and being able to do that in real time with the capabilities there. So I'll throw it back to you, Scott. I look forward to answering questions and delving into this a little bit more, but I appreciate you letting me join the panel here.
Greg, thank you very much. It's
Yeah.
very interesting. You know, we were just talking before the webinar started that if you're a large agency, and let's say you have 1,000 or 1,500 or more phones, being able to deploy things quickly is extremely important, especially like ATAC. You can imagine what it would take to have to touch every one of those phones. You could be talking weeks on end to make that happen. So I appreciate that. And we do have some questions we'll come to in just a minute. I want to turn this over to Amos to sort of land the plane for us, if you will. And Amos, I'm interested in your thoughts about MDM, but also, you know, Greg's talked a little bit about ATAC. And this really isn't an ATAC webinar, but there's a lot of interest in ATAC. So maybe you could just take a little bit of time, since you're the ATAC guru, and talk to us a little bit about what ATAC is, and then you know, how it integrates with the MDM, and bring this home. And then we've got 4 or 5 questions that we'll go through after that. So Amos.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Scott. So yeah, you may call me the ATAC guru, but you're on, here with TAC royalty in Greg. I've used Greg's scripts as far back as I've used ATAC, it seems like, for doing aircraft and other sensor tracking and implementing in. He is by far the SME in this. And so I kind of have Remington's presentation on what an MDM is and how you can use it. That was very brief. I could tell you, like, he is the expert when it comes to setting this up. So if there's somebody out there that sees this and wants to know more, reach out to us, right? Because what he showed today is phenomenal. But if you're having trouble figuring something out or getting some, he is by far the best person. He has taught me so much about Knox myself personally. So I can say, you know, I have an instance that I use with my devices and have them set up and deployed through. And one ask I would ask of Greg is, do you have a one pager or a video out there somewhere showing how you deployed those settings in the MDM to manage, ATAC that we could share with people, like, you know, what that JSON file needs to look like in the configuration, or how you base 64 encode that data package and apply it. Do you have something like that available?
I could certainly, yeah, I can turn that up for you, of course. Yeah. And I've scripted a lot of that now as well, right? Like, again, because we can take advantage of the APIs, like, we could just ask an LLM to bang that out and say, hey, I want this profile deployed to these phones. But yeah, I'll totally work with you on getting that. Let me get through FIFA, and
Yeah.
we'll absolutely have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the prompt, right? Like the AI prompt, because we're all, I mean, if we're smart, we're all using those tools to help us manage this stuff, right? That's just the way it is. So it's amazing that you're using the Knox API with the LLMs to generate the stuff that you need, because that's the thing, right? Let's use the AI to make our jobs easier. You know, it's not going to replace the people who use it, because it's going to take somebody that can, guide that. So yeah, if you've got a prompt or, a way that you do that, that would be fantastic that we could share with people. Because I would use that. I can tell you right now that I would use that to to go forward, because I've used multiple MDMs, to your point, Greg, across different platforms, different things for different reasons. And Knox just gives you that extra flexible power that, just like you say, it's let the computers do the hard work. Let's use them that way. So I don't really, Scott, have a way to land the plane. I'm just still flying high on what these guys talked about. This is amazing to watch. Every time I watch Remington give a demo, I learn something. Greg's expertise and how he's deployed this stuff through FIFA and different large events, Super Bowl, is phenomenal. And I learn from these guys every time, and that helps. But my offer would be to anybody watching, if you see something that you want to know more about, and Greg can't answer everybody's emails, or something, and let us filter that through. Let's help you out as the Samsung team. We will come in, help your agency, get in touch with the right people, or get the right scripts, or find a way to do something. And that's my offer to anybody out there that needs something.
Perfect. Thank you, Amos. Really appreciate that. Greg, go ahead. Did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to pile on, right? There's two operating modes we can consider here. I wouldn't say these are the only operating modes. There's two, right? Steady state, everyday operations, right? We have an enterprise and we need to manage our phones, and that's normal, right? That's steady state. And then there's the special event, right? Special operations type stuff, where you may not know that you're on this op until lineup. Congratulations, you're working the special event, right? You're on the VIP, right? You're on the protective detail, whatever it is. Well, that means we need to change the configuration dynamically, right? Like we might need to completely redo how your phone is deployed because now you're on this op and you need ATAC or some other suite on there, right? We can only do that if we're managing it through an MDM, and we can only do that if we're using an MDM that gives us that capability to deploy profiles, to change things on the fly, to say like, hey, which phone are yours? Let me update your call sign real quick, or let me update your suite real quick. These are practical things in the public safety world. Again, right? Like you may not know until lineup that that's your operation for the day. So we can't necessarily always rely on what the enterprise has rolled out for us. We need the ability to do this on the fly, and we can only do that if we have a sort of a next level MDM, like what is available with Knox.
That's great. So we got a couple of questions. I just want to throw some of these out there for whoever wants to take them. The first one is how does an MDM help an agency meet the CJIS security requirements? You have a lot of agencies out there. The average size agency in the United States is less than 20 officers. They have issued smartphones to, their agency, and they know that they have to have an MDM. But what does the MDM do that allows them to meet those CJIS requirements?
Yeah, I'll say it starts by enforcing all those policies, all the CJIS requirements. You're going to be able to set within an MDM profile and then push down instead of worrying about if it's open, if any of these settings are open for the end user. You're going to be able to lock it all down from a central console, set any settings you need to maintain CJIS compliance, and then push it down to your fleet of 1 or 1,000 devices. It's going to push it down automatically, so you don't need to worry about going in and configuring each CJIS setting. You're going to have it all managed from one central console. You're going to be able to see that the policies are in effect.
And that leads to the other question is a lot of these agencies are small. They don't have, IT support, or if they do, it's a, third party that helps them provide that support. How long does it take to set up an MDM, the back end, and then put that on all of the phones? We've talked a little bit about that today, but paint a picture for that small agency to mid-size agency who knows they need an MDM. What does it take to do that? What's the time frame?
Yeah, so I've seen it all over the place personally. Just to set up the MDM itself, it could take as little as 4 hours, or it can take a whole day. Depends how fine you want to get with the policies. If you want to implement VPNs, so it could be something as simple as 4 days, where we let you know which policies would need to be managed to maintain CJIS. I'm sorry, 4 hours, where we let you know which policies need to be in effect to manage CJIS compliance. But if you're talking about just pushing it down to the device, that should be within a matter of minutes. It's just, once you have everything set within the console, you just push it down. click a button and the device will receive it. It's up to your internet to see how long it will take to download and enforce itself, but that happens within the matter of seconds to a couple of minutes once it's set in the console.
And I'll say that Knox does support sort of the crawl, walk, run capability. It's not all or nothing. So if you decide that you want to start rolling Knox out, you could take baby steps, right? You could just start with basic management. And then as you discover the things that you want to implement, you can start adding those on. This isn't a, hey, we're going to wholesale greenfield everything. It's, hey, we can add a device. Now we'll start managing it. Now we'll deploy a profile. Now we'll enforce policies. Like, you can do that incrementally over time. You don't have to do it all on day one.
That's great. Yeah, because a lot of agencies probably would do that. Start with the crawl of just getting the MDM installed and starting to configure it, and then slowly improve it as they move along. So that's great. What about, we see a lot of agencies that have their officers bring their personal phones to work. Be interested in your thoughts on that, and can an MDM manage those personal phones as well?
Yes, it can. We don't ever recommend it, to be honest with you. So what would happen is if you did a BYOD deployment on that end user's device, it would add something called a work profile, and you only have access to that work profile. If the user sets a personal password on the device and they forget it, there would be no way to access that device. Then you don't have those same management capabilities as you would a fully managed device that's under your department's control. But it still does give you some very basic controls over corporate applications that you could enforce. But I would never recommend it, especially due to chain of custody. Keeping every device fully managed under your department is the way to go. And that's what 99% of agencies I work with, that's the method they use.
That's great. Greg, any follow-up thoughts on that?
Given the nature of the work that I do, I would never, ever, ever recommend anyone ever put work stuff on their personal phone, no matter what you do. But that's my personal preference.
Yeah, simple enough. I don't disagree with you. Okay, we got 3 more questions. What about, does the MDM allow a supervisor to verify that the officers are following the mobile data security policies? And if so, how does it do that?
So we do have you could see within the MDM dashboard a list of the policies that are pushed down to the device. And that's furthermore within device information. You can see every policy that's been pushed down. And then you could take it a step further and see not only the policies that were pushed down, but you could see the policies the device has actually received and is enforcing. So you're able to completely see which policies are in effect on the device, all from your central console.
Okay. And then the next one is what, and maybe this one is for Greg or Remington. What are the biggest security risks facing law enforcement smartphones today? What do you see out there that are some of the biggest risks?
Yeah, I mean, going with the hot topic is AI. Just using an AI model and having it upload all the information you input into it into whatever training services ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude is using. Just having that data leakage, and with MDM, you're able to prevent that by blocking the setting the applications that the device will have access to, and so. Really, I would harp on AI data security. And if you were to ever use any Samsung devices, they use our onboard our onboard AI capabilities. We have a setting where you can process all that data on the device. None of it ever touches the cloud. None of it is ever used for training purposes. So that's what I'd have to say.
Greg, any
I would
follow-up on
say,
that? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, persistent digital surveillance. Your phone has radios in it. You're going to be in environments where you might not want folks to know that your phone is there. With Knox, you can lock it down, right? We can turn off Bluetooth, we can turn off Wi-Fi, and we can do it profile based. There's a lot of options there, right? We don't have to say, hey, you never get to use Bluetooth ever again. We could say, hey, you're in an environment or you're in an operating mode where we actually need to be worried about persistent digital surveillance, people looking at the signals that are coming off of your phone. Cool. We can remotely turn Bluetooth and Wi-Fi off, right, and protect you from those things. That would be the one thing that I would emphasize on that. We don't see that as much domestically, but depending on the types of environments you're in, depending on types of work that you do, that is a real threat. That and being able to zeroize the device remotely is great, right? Like, be able to push a button and zeroize it and take stuff off of the device, especially if you believe the device might have been compromised or for whatever reason. That's a great benefit there in that environment.
Yeah, I mean, losing the device is a big deal. I was just in a big city and I took a taxi. I got out of the taxi. I got into the terminal and realized that I had left my phone in the taxi. And so having that ability to be able to remotely wipe that or remotely lock that phone is extremely important because it can happen, where you misplace your phone. So the last question, again, we advertise this webinar for small to mid-size agencies that have, smartphone programs. I'm a small police department. I only have a couple of phones. Why do I need an MDM? I've got a password on my phone. Why do I need an MDM? Remington?
Yeah, so a couple different reasons. One is obviously to maintain that CJIS compliancy, so your device is never falling out of it, becoming a security risk. And then two is you need to be able to enforce the latest device updates to your device. As I was showing you before within KAI, you could see the amount of critical vulnerabilities out there for a device. And so you think about if it falls into a bad actor's hand, you're going to want every level of protection you can against anyone trying to extract data off the device or breaking into a law enforcement device. So um, with our KAI and just MDM in general, you're able to block all of that and keep the device within a good security posture.
Greg, any follow-up to that?
Your job, like you went to Post, right? Or you went to EMS Academy or Fire Academy. That's your job. Messing around with phones isn't your job, right? So we can now offload that. We can let you focus in on the things that you took this job for, and let the phone management happen somewhere else. It's funny to think about it this way. It almost seems paradoxical. The less you have to touch Knox, the better it's working for you, right? That means you've deployed it. It's working. You don't have to touch it again, right? You don't have to worry about that aspect of that. Even if it's just a couple of phones, right? Do you want to spend your afternoon updating those phones by hand or having to go around and hand jam? No. You have other stuff you want to spend time with your family. You have reports to write. You have training to do, right? Do that. Focus on those things. Don't let as Amos said, let the computer do the hard work. It's easy to think that we're not big enough for this isn't pertinent to us. But if you can offload that part of your day, if you can offload that responsibility, you can change your focus to the other things that you think are important in your job. Not to say this isn't important, but this is a thing we can now automate, right? Or we can offload to something else.
Great advice. This has been a great discussion. I want to thank our three panelists, Remington, Greg, and Amos, for joining us today. It's, like I said, been a good discussion. I want to turn, as we close out, just a minute or two to each one of the panelists for some closing thoughts. So Remington, we'll start with you. Any closing thoughts that you have for the audience? And again, this is going to be recorded for someone watching this recording down the road. Closing thoughts.
Yeah, of course. I just think a common theme I've seen across agencies is just making sure your security is up to standard, making sure there's no vulnerabilities out there on your devices. I just feel like you can't take security, whatever it may be. You have to take it more seriously within the agencies, making sure your devices are up to date, making sure you have the policies that adhere to CJIS compliance. I just think that's the biggest takeaway because you have quite a few agencies out there that don't put that much time and effort into it, when in reality it is mission critical.
Yeah, a smartphone program is not a one and done. It's not something that you deploy and forget about. You've got to continually maintain it, make sure your policies are up to date, make sure security's up to date, and extremely important because a lot of times we just issue the phones and we forget about it. So some good advice there. Greg, we'll go to you next.
You've decided to deploy phones, but it doesn't have to be a cost center, right? With Knox and with the data capabilities of Knox and with the ability to pull data off of the phones, you could really leverage that as operational intelligence. And I think that's maybe the unspoken part of this is we're not just talking about managing phones. We're not just talking about applying policies. We're saying, hey, we bought all these phones. What else can we use them for? What other insights can we glean from these phones? That capability is there. And if you're not using it, you're just throwing away the data and the capability that you have. So, it's a mind shift to think about it that way, but like this is an investment you've made. Let's utilize it to the fullest with an MDM like Knox, with the added benefit of we get policy enforcement, application enforcement, administration's easier. And hey, it's a thing we can now query data from, right? It's a data source for us that we can use to look at operational intelligence. So operational intelligence for these environments is a great benefit that we're going to receive from Knox going forward. And then again, let the computer do the hard work. Stop typing stuff in by hand. Let it manage these things for you.
That's great. Thanks, Greg. Amos, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just one thing for those out there who are concerned about having to go get new funding, or now I got to go to the county commission and buy a new subscription. A lot of the Knox licenses you can buy through your existing carrier, whether it's AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon. You can buy those. They'll have a SKU for it that can be put onto your existing phone bill. So this doesn't have to be a complicated lift of, oh, I've got to go do all this procurement and go another route. So look at those as ways of getting access to these tools without the pain of having to go through some procurement or RFP or whatever. Most of them, it's just something you can tack on, and a lot of times there'll be packages that you can get it a Knox license with your device, and it's not even an additional cost. So it's something that I would encourage anybody who's listening who is very interested in doing this. Go talk to your carrier first. See how you could get those licenses, maybe at no cost or even a reduced cost, compared to going out and buying an MDM on your own or using another MDM that's out there. That would just be my last little bit as a thing to focus on.
Thank you. And Remington, if somebody watching this webinar has more questions, how would they reach out to you if they wanted to ask additional questions? Could you share an email or some way for them to contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. I can share an email, just remington.s@samsung.com. You can reach out to me there, and I'll share my information with Scott as well, so I could disseminate from there.
Perfect. Well, thank you again to all of our panelists. Thank you to all of you who joined, the attendees. It's great to have so much interest in this. And again, we will make this webinar recording available at a later time. We'll send it out to you via email. And I just want to say a special thank you to Samsung Electronics of America for making this thought leader possible. They do these quite regularly, and we really appreciate their willingness to support these webinars. So with that, everybody have a great day, and we'll see you next time.